What's up? How are you? What's been going on?
Just like I'm prone to overthinking myself,
Mm-hmm.
so like
Yeah.
getting in my own head and just letting my mind go crazy. Music plays a big part to that,
Fair enough.
if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Depending on what kind of music I'm listening to,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's like, I don't know, sad songs or like liquid drum and bass, something that's a bit more melodic and free,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it brings me to a place where I just overthink,
Mm.
and it takes me back to certain memories, like
Mm-hmm.
how it just when you experience something like last, like I went to festivals last year and certain things happened.
Brings back those events. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly, that's it. It brings back certain memories, and I think a big part of like how I feel mainly comes down to relationships that haven't worked with uh with girls, with people that I've been with.
Yeah, yeah.
um because it's hard to obviously think about where it's going to go and what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And me being me, I when I get into a relationship, I put 100% in.
Yeah, yeah.
I go all in. I do what I have to do to um just give everything that I have, all my energy and my time.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
invest that into that person. And because I do that, it makes me overthink and being like, am I doing too much?
Yep.
Or do they appreciate this? Or can I trust them? Are they loyal? It's not, it's an insecurity in a sense, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
also is just something that I need to learn to come to terms with. Um, but that's a journey that I'm on in my own way.
Yeah. I think that's actually a good thing. To be honest, like you're a bit self-critical of yourself. If we're looking at it in a grand scheme of things, being self-critical is not a bad thing.
Mm,
But yeah, to a certain point, when it comes to the specifics of relationships, it can be an issue.
yeah.
But that's good. That's good, man. For me, I've been listening to a lot of music recently, and my music like trend right now is the opposite. It's doing the exact opposite. I'm listening to heavy metal. I'm trying to get away from my thoughts. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
of course.
So just driving out my thoughts and just listening to some heavy
I think
metal.
it's all based on frequencies and just, how it makes you feel. Like I've been in that position where it's like if I'm angry, like I remember when I used to go and skate, I'd
Mm.
listen to heavy metal and I'd end up like throwing my shit around
Yeah, yeah.
because it's like I
Ooh.
can't do what I want to do. I can't achieve what I want to achieve because this music is just making me so angry,
Yeah, yeah.
you know? Whereas if I listen to something like liquid drum and bass, which is, like I said, a little bit more free, a little bit more melodic,
Yeah, yeah.
I can just kind of lock in and just be like, okay, cool. I can't do it this time. I'll rest a bit and then come back to it. But then it also comes down to, it really does manipulate how you're feeling.
True.
It enhances your emotions. Like if I listen to a bit of deep house or like something that's a little bit more EDM style,
Mm.
a little bit faster, more upbeat, and it's a sunny day,
Hmm.
you best believe I'm rolling through these streets with a smile on my face,
Yeah.
sunny's on,
Hmm.
feeling myself,
Yeah, bro.
you
As
know?
you should, as you should. That's perspective as well, though, isn't it?
Oh,
Like
100%.
the weather has an impact on our emotions, has an impact on how we feel, and also changes our perception of what our day's gonna be like. So, you know, I wake up majority of the days super neutral, which is totally fine, and then something affects me. Like I have a bad coffee in the morning, the barista done messed up my drink, and I'm just here like, okay, yeah, this morning ain't gonna be great. But yeah, I don't know. For you, listening to heavy metal back then, getting aggro at the skate park, I never used to listen to heavy metal. So I think from my perspective, I listen to it now and it's super, I don't know, it's inspiring for me right now. But then I'm in a place with my life where I want to change certain things, going to the gym now, just getting it on,
Love that.
getting it going. Commitment, man. Commitment to the cause for yourself. I think that's the most important thing. Being involved with yourself, making sure that you are number one. But yeah, I mean, we've been through it all. Depression and anxiety is a massive topic, especially across the board for all men and women in this world.
100%.
I think more so in men, and that's why we're here
It's because
to
it's
have this
not
conversation.
talked about. It's something that's kind of just nobody bats an eyelid towards it, I feel.
Mm.
And I've been in that position where I have felt alone, I felt by myself. I've been depressed, I've been on the edge, and I've had friends and family who have also been in that position as well, and I've seen it firsthand. I know people that have taken their lives because it's too much.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's hard to overcome. It's hard to speak about, especially with today's society, with the stigma behind men talking about their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see all of this stuff on social media about uh girls who are talking like, oh, I need a guy who makes 100K minimum.
Madness.
I need a guy who drives this car. Oh, if he
Madness.
makes 30K a year, he's a bum.
Madness.
And it's just it's the expectations that people are setting now for men to have to be in a position. It's like most people that have made their money and have fulfilled their desires, they don't do that until they're 40, 50 years old.
Yeah, true.
And you compare yourself to people on social media who are 20, 21, even younger, depending on who it is. I mean, I'm a victim of this. I used to, when I listened to music and I made music, I used to sit there on Instagram and see all these artists that are younger
Compare,
than
yeah.
me and just be like,
Compare
how am
yourself,
I not
yeah.
exactly? How am I not
Yeah.
in this position? How have I not been able to uh, get to that point? But it's because again, it's the consistency and the persistence. I didn't have that drive to get to that point, you know?
Yeah.
And then after a while, it just becomes saturated. Everybody's doing it. I see it now in the music scene. Everybody's making music,
Yeah.
you know? And it's not a bad thing
Yeah.
because it creates a lot of genres. It creates a lot of diversity. It creates a new community.
Yeah.
But it's essentially like finding a needle in a haystack, you know?
What? You know what, Sean? I would actually play devil's advocate here and say that it is a bad thing. You know, like
Okay.
when stuff gets saturated so much, everybody complains about how bad the music industry right now. There's no real good music.
Mm,
And I think I saw a post the other day on Instagram, some guy talking about, uh, you know, there is no good music out there. Where can we find good music? It's actually T-Pain. What am I talking about? It's T-Pain. He is talking about it. And he was basically like, you got to look. You got to look for the good music. There's actual people out there who actually make good stuff and they do it for the right reasons. But I think that falls into it again. You know, a lot of people see it as an opportunity to be something, whereas they don't know what they want in life. So they're trying to grasp onto some form of, I don't know, some form of achievement, which they think is the one that they want. Everybody enjoys music, everybody loves it, so everybody can gravitate to it and think that's a
yep.
goal that they can achieve.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that come with that, man. I think in life, we got to find things that give us a sense of gratitude and help us see that, you know what we're doing now is actually benefiting us. And it's exactly where I want to be.
Mm,
I think I saw again a guy who he had a startup company and he was doing well for himself and he sold it for like almost $1 billion.
okay.
And now for the last year, he's been sitting on his couch, not knowing what to do because he's
Well,
lost
that's
his
it.
purpose. You
Yeah,
know what I
that's
mean?
it. It's about finding your purpose in life, which is probably one of the hardest things to do, if I'm going to be honest with you, because
Yeah, man.
you're born into a world where you don't know right from wrong. Your parents don't know right from wrong.
Hmm.
Nobody has it figured out.
Hmm.
You know, everybody's still figuring it out. You know, when you see people who, and this is in my case, in my case, especially growing up, you know, I blamed when I was younger, when it all happened, when my mum and dad divorced, I blamed my dad for majority of it. But
Mm.
I also didn't realize that he was navigating all of this shit by himself. He didn't
Yeah.
he didn't have it figured out. He had no idea what he was doing.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
got 3 kids.
yeah.
You know, he doesn't understand the the kind of repercussions of raising 3 kids in the society that we live in.
Yeah.
Again, he's the man. He's got to be the breadwinner. He's got to make the money. He's got to do this, do that, find the time to spend with his kids and make sure that we live a good and happy life. Now, I'm very grateful for my childhood, but, you know, since him and my mum split, it's kind of one of them things where he found a bit more of his purpose. He got back in touch with his roots.
Mm.
He got back in, he's following his beliefs and what he believes in and what he feels is right for him.
Yeah.
And I can only respect that
Yeah.
as an individual, as a human, because at the end of the day, we're all people. We all have same thought process. We all experience the same feelings. Nobody's better than anybody else in whatever you do. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or you're somebody who's making minimum wage. You're still a human. You're still a person.
Yeah.
It's just one might have found his purpose earlier on
Earlier on,
than you, but
yeah.
your time will come if you put that work in and you stay consistent. But again, I think now what people are doing, especially with social media, is they're looking for happiness, which in the grand scheme of things, happiness is a feeling. It's not something that lasts forever. It's temporary.
True.
Fulfillment.
Mm.
That's what I feel people should be aiming towards.
Yeah, yeah.
All my life, I've been looking for happiness. I've been trying to be happy. I've been trying to, find myself and be happy within myself. But really and truly, now I'm at a point where I just want to be fulfilled
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
my decisions, my actions, the consequences that come with these actions.
Yeah, yeah.
It's easier said than done, but I think being fulfilled is a lot more attainable, and long-term wise, it's a better feeling to have, because if you keep chasing happiness, you're never going to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Because you're chasing the same feeling over and over and over again, that you lose sight of what's in front of you.
Yeah, yeah.
And loads of people go through this.
Yeah.
This is a common thing.
Yeah, it is literally the bane of our current existence. All these kids, they're growing up, and from a young age, their parents are like, you know what, I can't deal with you right now. Have a tablet. Here we
Yeah.
go with the dopamine hits from a young
Yeah.
age. And
Here's the iPad.
that is going to cause
Yeah.
anxiety and issues for them in the future. They don't have certain feelings like that dopamine hit they've been constantly getting. They're going to look for it elsewhere.
Of course.
And then you see these guys and girls online doing certain things just for likes and clicks, man. And it's really sad, bro.
I mean,
It's
that's
really sad.
and
And it's cringy, bro.
it's
It is actually
super cringy.
It's so cringy. You see
It's
certain
super
things.
cringy. This is what I mean. It's I've been saying for a long time, podcast. I want to do a podcast and get it done, get it out there. And I think this is a great topic of conversation to cover, because it's not like I'm splitting apart the men and the women. Obviously, we've spoken about doing a podcast before,
We have. Yeah, yeah.
and we just never kind of got into the swing of it. So I'm glad that we can sit here and actually talk about this, because we're both in a similar position mentally, where it's like we're okay
Yeah, yeah.
because of all the shit that we've been through, but we still have a lot to figure out. We still have a lot to navigate.
Word.
It's like I've known you the best part of like 15 years now, right? And everybody within our group, within the TheSkitzMen group, between us all, we all have that bond where it's like we understand each other because we've all been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've all been in that position. There was a time where me and you didn't speak for like 3 years because you was
Yeah.
away, in a different part of the country,
Yeah. Yeah.
living your life, and that's fairs, and I think having people that can understand you and also relate to you,
Yeah.
which is even better. I think understanding is like the basis of it. Learning to understand somebody is the hard part.
Yeah.
No, is the easy part, sorry.
Okay.
Learning to understand somebody is the easy part, because all you got to do is listen.
True.
And all you got to do is see it from their perspective. But relating to somebody means you have to have gone through something similar.
True.
And I feel like us as friends, we've been through very similar experiences with relationships, with mental health, with, kind of our own perception of things. And we're able to relate to each other, and we can have these conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even like off camera, we can have these conversations, and come to, some form of understanding of our situations.
Yeah.
It's like I know I can come to you with whatever is on my mind. When I'm off, when I'm feeling, down or like upset.
Same for you to me.
Exactly. Right. I feel it. I'm an empath as well as, I'm sure you are. I feel it. Like I feel it. What was it? I said this to you the other week. I was on the train home from work, and it was like 9 o'clock at night, and I'm just sat there, got my music on, and I'm chilling. It was a long day, and I'm just vibing, and then I look across, and there's a girl crying,
Yeah, I remember.
and I'm like,
Such an interesting story.
and I'm like, okay. Now I've just come out of a relationship. Bear in mind, at that point, like it'd only been like a month, give or take. So I'm still fresh out. So it's not like I'm looking at her and I'm like, yo, she's crying, I'm gonna move to her. Like it's genuine. I felt that she was upset. I felt that she was hurting. I could tell that she was in a bad place.
You saw yourself in that scenario, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Whether
like,
it be a guy or a girl, it's the same feeling.
100%. So I've just signaled to her, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, should I do it? Should I do it? Will it look like I'm coming across as I'm trying to move to her?
Yeah.
But then I'm like, well, no, because I'm a passerby who's just sitting there upset. So I'm like, you wave to her. I'm like, you're okay? She's like, no. So I'm like, do you want me to come and sit next to you? She's like, yeah. So I sit next to her, and she's just crying. She's bawling her eyes out, and I'm like, cool. And I say to her, first thing I say is, things get better. Now, you don't know me and I don't know you. So I'm not going to expect you to tell me your whole life story or tell you what's going on. But I just want you to know that things will get better, because
Yeah.
they will.
Yeah.
Nothing is forever. Like, these feelings aren't forever. They come and they go.
Yeah.
That's why they're feelings, because you feel it at that moment in time.
Yeah. They're not real necessarily.
Exactly. Exactly. It's your own manifestation of how you're feeling at that moment in time. Is, like I said, you can sit there and watch a movie and start crying.
Yeah. True. True.
But you can also sit there and start crying because you're upset about a previous relationship. It's all the same feeling. It's just as to what's triggered it. So I sat there and I said, you don't need to say anything. I just want you to know that, like, I'm here if you want to talk about it, feel free.
Yeah.
And she comes out and she says, oh, I've just seen my ex. We've only been split up for a few weeks, but I've been fine up until now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to go meet his best mate to pick up some things, and
It just hit her.
it just hit her, because I think she said she saw him. So I sat there and I said, I'm in the same position. I'm in a similar position.
Yeah.
I've just come out of a relationship. In my head, I'm still processing it. I'm still, thinking about what the issue was. I didn't have any inkling there was an issue, but apparently there was, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I can't fault people for feeling how they feel. And she said, I said, okay, how long were you together? She stated that, and she said, it just happened out of nowhere. I thought we were fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, I know exactly how you feel.
Yep.
Genuinely. I'm in
Yeah.
the same position. I'm in the same boat.
Mhm.
And she said, did you have any idea that it was going to happen? I said, no. The day after my birthday,
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, cool. It is what it is. I
Yeah.
can't force somebody to love me. I can't force somebody to be with me.
You shouldn't even.
As much as I love this person, I can't force them to be with me. And maybe it was just, it was just timing. It just wasn't right. I have a lot to work on.
Mhm.
I'm aware of this.
Yeah.
This is something I'm actively doing.
Let's look at that. So all the things that we've already mentioned,
Yeah.
depression, anxiety, within the time span of how you've arrived on the earth, in the time span from where you are now, with all the experiences, would you say your anxiety has changed? Would you say your depression has changed? What would you say is one of the main catalysts? What would you say is, well, actually, you've already said what one of the main catalysts could have been. It's relationships with everyone.
Yeah. I think that is everybody's
What
main
was
catalyst.
what was your resolution at the time? What was it that resolved all of those issues for yourself personally at the time? So when I was 10, for example, bro, I just wanted to be left alone.
Mm.
I didn't want anybody around me. And like the more people that was around me, I just got anxiety. I just like to be in my room. And that was my way of coping with it. In my room with an amplifier and a guitar and just playing. You know what I mean?
I think for me, it was a similar kind of coping mechanism,
Mm-hmm.
but games.
Games.
You know,
Yeah.
like growing up, I shared a room with my older brother. He didn't very much like me growing up. He used to beat me up all
Brotherly
the time.
love.
Exactly, he used to beat me up all the time. But the way I see it is he might not have realized it when we was younger, but it's conditioning me for when I get older, because obviously he's the eldest, so he has to take the full brunt of everything that goes on at home, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of weight on his shoulders, and I know he's obviously had to deal with a lot. And then when he left, I then took it over.
Mm-hmm.
But we always found that common ground of our escape being playing games, and that was whether we'd load up the PS2,
Mm-hmm.
play some Need for Speed, and he would force me
Great.
to keep playing until I started crying, or whether we sat there and played Pokemon on the Game Boy or the DS, depending on what age we were at.
Nice.
And to this day, to this day, I still play games
Yeah.
religiously. I could sit there for 12 hours a day and play games.
Yeah.
Because it's my way of detaching from the real world and just, kind of not living my life through something else, but it just allows me to forget about everything. If
Yeah.
I've had a long day at work, I come home, load up my PC, and I'll be sat there for the rest of the evening until I go sleep to go work the next day, playing games.
Yeah.
And, we obviously sit in Discord all the time together.
Yeah.
We're all in that same position,
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, it's like when you was younger, like it stems from that. Most of our depression and anxiety does stem from childhood trauma.
Yeah.
We just don't know it.
It's true. I think, yeah, it's a lot of people they don't reflect on their childhood, or they reflect too much on their childhood. Like
Mm-hmm.
for me, I grew into that at a later stage when I was maybe 14, 15. Gaming became my life. But before that, it was the guitar.
Yeah,
And obviously, I still bounce between the two
of
in my
course.
adult life.
Yeah.
But from what I noticed is now, even though when I was younger, I used to want to be alone to deal with all that stuff with
Mm-hmm.
my anxiety. Now I prefer to be in the company of good people.
Oh, 100%.
You know, like that's it for me. A lot of people, I think, in this world, they don't have many friends, and uh, they need an outlet, and sometimes the outlets aren't for them.
100%.
You know, so I think it's really important for men, especially, to have good friends. But like you said earlier, it's there's got to be common ground. You
Yeah.
know, there's got to be a certain, you know, there's got to be a certain general thing that they all gravitate to. Gaming it is for us. We all gravitate to gaming. We
Yeah.
love it, bro.
Of
It's
course.
our place of relaxation, and
Exactly.
we could just vibe about it, even though there's nothing good to play out at
Well,
the
yeah,
moment. You know what
that's
I
it.
mean?
I
But
mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I complain about going to work for 8, 9 hours, but I'd happily sit there and grind 8, 9, 10, 12
yeah,
hours for a brand new helmet,
yeah,
which
straight.
gives me some slightly better stats,
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
because it's just, it's you use it to get away from all the noise. At least for me, a lot of noise goes on in my head, and it's like, I can sit, like I say, I sit there, and if I listen to music, I have thoughts flood back.
Hmm.
Now this is going all the way from yesterday to a few years back
Yeah, yeah,
of decisions. It's the same way, like when you go to sleep, right?
yeah.
And you're trying to fall asleep, and then your brain's like, nope,
Nope.
here's something that you should have done differently.
Remember when you did something
Yeah,
when you were 5 years old?
remember when you done this and you made the wrong decision, and it's like, yeah, cheers, mate.
Yeah, you're never gonna forget that. Never
Exactly.
gonna forget
And
that.
it's the same thing. Like, I sit there to get away from all of that.
Mm.
And it has caused problems in previous not caused problems in previous relationships, but it's come up where it's like, maybe I forget to prioritize.
Mm.
And that's something I learned the hard way. It's a learning
Yeah,
curve.
yeah, yeah. Similar to me as well. Like in my past, I've been in relationships, and bro, like I lived with someone for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were together for 7,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the majority of my time I spent gaming. You
Yeah.
know, but I would sit, get home from work, bro. I was working 3 jobs at that
Yeah, yeah,
point.
yeah.
You know, trying to literally survive, and bro, all I wanted to do was come home and just game. And of course, that pushes that individual out from my life during that time.
Of course.
But they weren't the type of individual to be so encouraging of, oh, you want to feel better? Go to the gym. There
Yeah.
was no encouragement to do
Yeah,
certain
yeah,
things
yeah.
like that. So it's a different scenario. But I think when you find someone who, you know, allows you to be yourself,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's never going to be an issue.
No,
Like
of
going and
course.
gaming for 12 hours is not an issue. But, nowadays, I would say that my re- resolution for these types of things hasn't changed from when I was a kid.
Mm.
I think the causes have changed,
Of course,
and
100%.
like nowadays, it's hard for me to pinpoint the causes. You know, when you get older and you just wake up one day and just something just annoys you, bro.
Yeah, of course. You
And
just
it
wake
just,
up on the wrong side of the bed.
yep, yep,
Doesn't have to be any trigger. It's
no,
just you wake up and you're like, I cannot be fucked.
yeah, literally.
That
Like
is,
today is just not the day.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
just
yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah. Literally, anybody like looks at me the wrong way, it's gonna set me off. I'm just super fucking angry this
Yeah,
whole day,
yeah, like,
and I have no need to be. The sun's out.
mm,
I've eaten. I'm good. I've had my coffee. I've started the day, but I just feel agged.
yeah,
And there's no real reason to it. But this is what I mean. It's a feeling.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's not something that's forever. It's
Mm,
something that comes and goes without any warning.
yeah,
Which is why I say, like I said earlier, happiness isn't something people should be striving for. It should be that sense of fulfillment,
true, true.
because the same way you wake up and you feel angry,
Hmm.
the same way you're going to wake up and you're going to feel happy. But then there could be something along the way throughout the day that can just completely
To shift that. Yeah,
shift it completely.
yeah, yeah.
And if you end up chasing fulfillment, and being more content with your decisions and your choices,
Hmm.
you'll feel a lot more humble and a lot more grateful
Yeah, yeah.
for how far you've come and what you've achieved.
That's important. Like having gratitude for certain actions you've done, not necessarily things you've got, but certain actions you've done. Like you stood up for yourself today. Good job. You know, at many points in life, you don't need to do that, but sometimes you got to be like, I did something good for myself
Mm.
today. You know, I Bro, I'll be honest with you. I'm depressed all the time.
Mhm.
There is not one single day where I'm not depressed. And I don't think if I had everything in the world, I would not, I would still not be like that. I would
Yeah,
still be depressed.
of course.
But just like Hulk says, he's always angry. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But he's not. You know what I
But
mean?
he
But he's not.
is a prime example. He's not,
He's not.
because there's a part of him where he then becomes Bruce Banner as Hulk,
Mm,
and he is one as that individual, and it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
why am I angry all the time? What
Exactly.
do I have to be angry about?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's no need to be angry all the time.
Yeah.
And this is a bit, contradicting, a bit hypocritical of me to say this, because I'm angry majority of the time. But I ask myself that, why am I angry all the time?
Yeah, yeah.
And it could be the decisions I've made. It can be, the outcome of the day. It could be somebody said something to me, or somebody's critiqued me, or whatever it is. It can be anything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I think one thing I started doing recently is journaling as well, and that's a
Oh,
good
you
way to
have?
outlet. Yeah, 100%. And I would
Wow.
encourage so many more people to do this, because I knocked it for years. Because I was like, why? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I just because
What am I in the twilight? Am
yeah,
I gonna
yeah,
write? Yeah,
literally,
you know.
yeah. What, am I writing a novel?
Yeah.
And it's like, I knocked so many things before I tried them.
Yeah.
This is one thing that I do wanna keep working on, is just coming and getting out of my comfort zone, and just
Yeah.
doing things that I don't normally do. And it's the same thing with therapy. I disregarded that growing up, but then when I did it, changed my life.
Mm.
Changed my whole perspective on
Yeah.
a lot of things that I struggled to deal with, especially anxiety. But journaling is just, you don't have to show anyone. You have to speak to anyone. It's just
Mm.
you and your thoughts, writing them down.
Straight.
Everybody's iPhone has a journal app on it installed, so
Mm.
people can do that.
Yeah, yeah.
You can get a notepad and a pen. You can do it like that,
That's
however
the
you
way
want
I
to
would
do
do
it.
it. That's the way I would.
Build a structure for you to note out in your day. So my one would be like, what filled me with enthusiasm today? That's one question. And then the second one would be like, what drained me today? And
Mm.
then the third one is, what did I learn about myself today?
That's great. Those are great questions.
Right?
Those are great
I got this
questions.
off of Instagram.
That's
This was just
great.
like a crazy, like, I just, your feed obviously goes by kind of how you're feeling. It's a bit weird, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
just come up, and it was like a self-reflection thing.
That's great.
And I noted it down, and I started doing it. And essentially what it says is do that every day for a month. Set a timer, set a reminder, put it in your reminder app, and put it down on your calendar. So you
Mhm.
set it for a whole month. Do it for a
Mhm.
whole month, and then at the end of the month, take time. On the last day, take time to go through everything that you've written down, all of the entries. Go, just read them
Yeah.
and see what patterns are recurring. And then once you hit that last day, change it. Instead of, what did I learn about myself today? But
Mhm.
like, what did I learn about myself this month?
Ooh.
So that
Very
you've got
good.
one big overview of the month, so that you can then use to take that onto the next month
Yeah.
and be like, okay, this is something I need to focus on a bit more. This is something I need to work on. This is okay. And just break it down so that you can actually have more of a structure in your life, because loads of people in this world now, it's a mess.
Yeah, yeah.
People don't know what they're doing, where they're at, and that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
What you need to do is build structure, so that you can start figuring out piece by piece who you want to be, where you want to be, what you want to do, all of these tough questions that you don't have the answers to right now, but you will,
Mhm.
so that one day you can look back and be like, damn, I'm in this position because I'd made them little changes.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? That is actually so beautiful, bro. Like, congratulations on that, because
You.
I have never done that personally myself.
Hmm.
But to be honest, I think if I had ever done that, I would have to see things for the way they are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, seeing things day to day is not realistic.
Yeah.
So that's actually brilliant. I think a lot of people should take that on board. I don't think it's something which I should ignore as well. I might just have to start doing that as well,
I'm
taking
telling
it
you, it's a
on board.
game changer.
Yeah.
It's a game changer, because it's like, same say I was in that same mindset where it's like, nah, fuck that. Why am I gonna do that?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna forget to do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just one of them things. I'll start it, and then I'll just forget, and then it'll be
Mhm.
like, oh great, I've forgotten to do it. I can't be able to do it anymore, because that happens so much with things that I take on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I said to myself, you say it to yourself, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna make that change. I'm gonna implement this small minor change into
Yeah.
my life that could potentially be a drastic switch
Yeah, yeah.
for later on. And it has made a difference, because I see every time I put in a journal, put in an entry, I do notice that there is a difference in how I've handled the day and how I've been in certain situations. Now, I'm a very like nonchalant person
Mm.
and I'm very laid back, but also because I'm like that, I let a lot get on top of me.
True. True.
I let way too much get on top
True.
of me.
You're just like, you know what? It's all good. It will be chill.
But it builds
But
up.
it
I
builds up.
bottle it
Yeah.
down. I bottle it down. It builds up, and then I explode. And it's like everything comes out at once, and then it's just one massive fuck up where I'm just like, what have I done? Like
Yeah.
this one instance has led to me being in this position,
Yeah.
you know? And I think a good example of that is with my last relationship. When she split up with me, I was like, okay, I'm still trying to wrap my head around what went wrong,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Am I the problem?
Mm.
Was it me? Am I the one that has issues that I need to deal with?
Mm.
Or is it something completely different? I overthink,
Yeah.
and I'm stood there and I'm by the ocean and I'm just like, I can't do this shit
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's time for a cold dip.
so cold dip and just float away, just let go,
Yeah.
just let go completely.
Yeah.
And it's, at that point where I'm stood there and I'm literally like, I'm crying. I'm at the edge of like everything.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that pops into my head is my granddad who passed away,
Mm.
and everything I've done up until this point is for him and
Mm-hmm.
because of him,
Mm-hmm.
because the type of person that he was he would have helped anybody.
Yeah.
You know, he would have bent over backwards to help anybody, and he was there for his friends, his family, and he left too soon, and I'm stood there and I'm speaking to the sky. I don't even know. I've never been in this position where I've done that, but I'm speaking to the sky. And bear in mind, he's been gone. It's been around about 9 years now.
9 years.
And it was around that time, it was around the 9-year mark when all of this shit happened.
Yeah.
And I'm stood there and I'm just like, I'm speaking to the sky and I'm like, give me a sign.
Mm.
Like, help me out.
Yeah.
You know, I need help.
Yeah.
Like, I need to know what I need. I need to know what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
I need a sign of anything. And when I stood there, there was one star in the sky and it was shining bright. It was a clear sky night and stars everywhere, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm essentially in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it was just like no light pollution. It was amazing. And there's one star and it's just shining. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to take that as a sign.
Mm.
Now, I'm not a massive believer in all of this sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I see it. And then for the next few nights, I see that same star. And bearing in mind, I was in one place on the other side of the country and then I'm back home.
Mm.
And that's like a big distance.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing that same star. And I'm like, cool. This is the sign for me to just get on with it.
Yeah.
Now's not the time to end it, right?
Mhm.
Now's not the time to let go.
Yep.
Because there's so much more in store for me
Mm-hmm.
that I don't even know of yet.
Yeah.
Now, I don't live a day-to-day life where it's like I wake up and I think of the future. Whatever happens, happens.
Right.
Right? I wake up and I'm just grateful that I've woken up.
Yep.
Right?
As you should be, as everybody should be.
Exactly. Every day is a blessing. Every day is a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't want to be looking to the future and I don't want to be looking into the past. And this was a big thing for me, looking into the past and being like, where did all this time go?
Mm.
Sitting with your friends doing random shit, us going out skating, doing this, traveling around,
Yeah.
doing this, that, the other, this, that, the other. And it's like now all of a sudden, I'm 27 and I'm in a position where it's like, I've been chasing that feeling again
Yeah.
for so long,
Yeah.
but it's never gonna come back.
Yeah.
Because it's a memory.
Mm-hmm.
It's a memory of somebody I once was.
Yeah.
So I've just got to look forward and just crack on with whatever's in front of me and just take it day by day, essentially, because nobody knows. Tomorrow's not promised. It's as easy as that, I could not wake up tomorrow, whether it's tomorrow, a week, a month, a year, however long it is. Living in the moment is probably one of the best things I ever started doing.
Yep.
Simply because it changed my perspective on a whole lot of things. Take it day by day. Take it step by step.
Great advice.
You
Take
know?
it day by day.
Because then otherwise, you're living for something that isn't guaranteed.
Yeah, man. Nothing is ever guaranteed. And like
100.
on the topic of what you were talking about, it's something from which once you start to actively be genuine with yourself, then you start to see all these things. You don't have to be a believer in whatever you want to call it, God, the universe. You don't have to be a believer in those moments, but uh, you'll have moments where you're drawn to those things, not because you believe in something, but because you're trying to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
At the end of it all, it's all about showing yourself gratitude, showing yourself belief, and giving yourself the strength to go through whatever you're going through. And the lessons that you've learned, you just said to me that your granddad went too early. And that's what you just saw yourself as. I have so much more to give. I have so much more to do. I'm not going to let myself go here. And to be honest, man, just similar to what you brought up earlier when you saw that girl on the train, like I said to you in that moment as well, I was like, the universe is literally showing you exactly what you've experienced
Exactly.
in someone else's
She
shoes.
went through the same thing that I went through.
Exactly, man.
Same thing. And it's like just random out of
Yeah.
fucking nowhere. And she's telling me this story of her, and it's literally
The
the
same thing.
same thing.
Yeah.
And it made me step back and be like, I'm not the only one going through this.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. Exactly.
And I know it's so close-minded to think like that, but when you're in that position, you are like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Why is it me? Why can't I have the happy ending? Why can't I have, you know, the forever after type shit, you know?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm a hopeless romantic, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like, I'm a realist,
Good.
you know?
Good.
I keep myself grounded, but then I see that, and then she told me this, and I was like, ah, same
Same
position.
position, bro.
And I didn't even, I sat there and I listened to her, and she left, and that was it. I hope I was able to make her day a bit better after it being whatever it was.
Yep.
Because it's like, you know, she was sat there, she's laughing, she's crying, whatever. But I just hope that I was able to somewhat help her see that she's not alone in this, because nobody's alone in it.
Yeah.
It's just about how you deal with it. Speak to people,
Yeah, man.
you know?
Be genuine. Be genuine.
Exactly.
It's so funny. The way that happened in my head, I was just constantly thinking like, bro, this is the universe telling you, whatever it is, this is the world telling you that you're not alone and there's someone going through the exact same thing as you. And it may be hard to believe, but you know, sometimes when it's hard to believe, it'll be smack dab in your face.
Oh, 100%.
And that's the great thing about it, you know? And that probably, even though you helped her in that moment, bro, you were helping yourself. It's literally yourself, the same
Exactly.
thing that's occurring, you're helping yourself. So I think everybody should just take a moment within their day, just like Sean said, be genuine. Be genuine with yourself, yeah? And reflect and just enjoy every single day. Wake up and know that you should be grateful for you being here today. It's not easy. It's not easy at all, but
That's it. Nobody said it was going to be easy. Nobody taught us how to deal with it, you know? From
nobody did.
school.
No.
Nobody taught us how to deal with it from school. Nobody said this is how you deal with mental health. It's not studied enough.
No, it's not.
Mental health isn't studied enough in school.
Especially in men, man. I think
100%.
it's hard for me to not find a guy out there who's not depressed. Do you know? Like,
Or has not, or at least experienced it.
yeah, we all go through it, and I get it. Like, we're meant to be macho. From what the world's tell us, we're meant to have this facade about us, but that just builds a certain edge of ego, which is too sharp. It cuts you, man. It cuts you. You don't realize it. You're being egotistical. It's hurting you more than it's
100%.
helping you benefit. You know?
100%.
Like, I think everyone nowadays needs to just take a moment for themselves, drop your ego. I wouldn't say do any crazy psychedelics to get there, but like,
if that helps you, that helps
it
you.
helps,
But
you know?
I think at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all on this journey, different pathways, but we're all on that same journey where it's like figuring ourselves out. You know, I've got a ton to figure out, and I'm happy with that. I know this, you know.
What have you figured out? What have you figured out? Like,
recently,
forget your goals. Let's see, you know.
recently, I've figured out that me as an individual, I take things to heart a little too often, right? And this has been a thing before, and I've had conversations with people about it. You know, if I've got a friend and we hang out for a long time, we do a lot of stuff together, we blah blah blah, and then we kind of distance ourselves a bit. And then I'm sat there like, okay, but they're out there doing this, that, the other, and I'm not with them. Like, I thought we were friends.
Right.
But then one thing that somebody said to me was, no matter how long we don't talk for, when we get back together as a friend, as friends, nothing would have changed.
Yeah.
We're still the same people. We still have the same banter. It's just we've got our own shit going on.
Yeah, man.
And that's fairs.
Yeah, man.
And that's something I learned a long time ago. But more recently, it's that I I overthink way too much in situations that I don't need to. I get into my own head. I don't process things properly, and that stops me from being where I want to be.
Yeah.
But I've also learned a lot about myself as an individual and as a human, from a more spiritual level, where it's like I feel people's pain, I feel people's hurt.
Yeah.
I feel it when they're going through something. I'm able to understand and relate to them,
Yep.
and I feel like that's a power in itself, because you never truly know somebody.
Mm.
No matter how long you've been friends with them, no matter who they are in your family, you can be as close to somebody as possible, but you never truly know somebody because people change.
True.
And that's factual. That's
Mhm.
I could know somebody from when I was the age of 10 up until the age of 70 years old.
Mhm.
But I might not still know them by the age of 70 because they've
True.
changed in that time and it just didn't work for me and my life at that point.
True.
And that's fine. People come and go.
Yeah.
That is okay. As long as you remain true to yourself and you know yourself well enough that you can be by yourself. And that's another big thing
That's
I'm
another
learning.
big thing. Yeah.
Massive thing.
Yeah.
I've always struggled with being alone. Always struggled.
I'm the opposite, man. I thrive.
See,
I
and that's
love
what
it.
I'm getting to.
Mm.
That's what I'm getting to now. I'm getting to that point. I used to really struggle with it. There's a darkness that I have dealt with for a long time that I was able to just keep down. And that was me always trying to be the light of the room, always trying to
Yeah.
be the guy, know everybody, do this, do that. And it got to a point where I just was just left alone.
Mhm.
And it was hard for me to deal with. It was hard for me to navigate. I didn't know what to do with myself. And that's when I started overthinking and getting in my own head, because it's like, why am I not out doing this? Why am I not doing that? This, that, the other. Why am I not at this point? Right. And then I turn to social media because I'm like, what's everybody doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's everybody at? All of this
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of stuff.
Mhm.
So I get into my own head, and then it was just something I kept battling. It was like this darkness where it's like, I don't want to be, I don't want to be like that. So I just kept pushing it back. I've now come to terms with just knowing that I'm always alone. I could be in a room full of people and I will still feel alone.
Mhm.
I could be in a room full of close friends and family and still feel alone.
Yep.
But it's not something where I feel alone where it's like I genuinely feel by myself. I know I've got people around me,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's just that in the back of my head, I'm like, this is how it is. And that's okay.
Yeah.
As long as I can learn to live with it and, coincide with it, then that's fine.
Mhm.
But I know I've got people I can speak to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I've got people I can go to with whatever issues it is. But more recently, I am learning to understand that being alone and being not constantly speaking to somebody like a partner, or somebody who you're talking to in the talking stage, like dating,
Yeah. Yeah.
being by myself is doing me wonders. And learning to do things by myself, I think that's a hard thing to do.
Yep.
That's a hard feat to achieve.
Yep.
Doing things by yourself, going to the cinema alone, eating, going out to a restaurant by yourself.
Yep.
They're small things, but they make a difference. Going for a walk by yourself, being active, and, even me, like I've booked a holiday by myself. First time I'm ever traveling by myself. It's going to be a great time.
It will be.
I'm
Yeah.
doing a day festival by myself,
Mhm.
and just trying to be more in touch with myself and the surroundings,
Yep.
because
You got no influence by that point.
exactly.
When you're with a group, you don't make decisions based on what you want to do. You make decisions based on what everybody else wants to do.
Exactly.
I'm very much the opposite from what you've experienced. I always wanted to be alone. I don't like being around people. I prefer to be by myself. But I think that falls back into like I have trust issues.
Of
I
course.
have massive trust issues, and I don't know where it started from. From when I was younger. To be honest, I actually do. I do know where it's from. I used to be religious,
Mm.
like massively. I'm very religious now,
Yeah.
but when I was younger, I went to church every Sunday and I was hanging around people and I saw them behave in a certain way which was against what the scripture would say.
Yeah.
And in my eyes, I was like, what do I believe?
Well, exactly.
And then I left that. I left that
Of
completely.
course.
And I think that gave me a bit of like trust issues across the board. So I've always enjoyed myself. But for me now, it's not about being by myself. It's
Mm.
about learning how to be around others,
Of course.
not being around them, but like experiencing their perspectives.
Yeah.
And because I am an empath as well, it's easy to do, but it's also easy to get overloaded with all of their emotions
Mhm.
because then I get overloaded.
Of course.
You've seen as our recent moments in our friend group where
Yeah.
I've had many miscommunications,
Yeah,
and it's just like, it's just me in my head.
of course.
That's all it is. It's
Yeah.
me being too harsh on myself, being too harsh on my friends because there's an expectation which I've created.
Yeah, and it's like I said to you when that did happen. I said it's just it's a miscommunication side of things, and I get where both sides were coming from, but also communicate.
Yeah,
It's
but
as
just
easy as that.
fucking
It's
talk.
as easy
Like,
as that. Like
open your fucking mouth.
it's as
Yeah.
easy as that. Like it's you can resolve so many issues and so many problems by just communicating. And I think most people go based on emotion.
Yeah.
And this is what me and Dylan were saying yesterday. Loads of people, especially in a relationship, you have an argument with a partner, everything's based on emotion. Now, me, I like to step back and basically process, reevaluate because I want to calm down because I'm angry.
Yeah.
But the partner might want to be like, no, we need to sort it out now. We need to get to the bottom
yeah,
of it
yeah.
now. But you can't do that.
No.
Don't tell me you want to get to the bottom because you can't do that.
Yeah.
Because you're going based off of emotion.
Mhm.
Now, this is a very common thing. Now, people may disagree with me, and that's fine. But men go based more on logic.
100%.
Women go based more on emotion, and that's fine. That's not
100%.
a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
But if you take a step back and you actually look at it from a logical point of view, you will then see what we see, and it'd be like, okay, that does make sense.
Yeah.
Because that's why I take myself away from the situation.
Yeah.
Because I'm now like, I know why I need to leave the situation.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it to escalate.
Yeah.
I don't want to say something stupid and fuck it up even more.
Yeah.
But you're gonna say something stupid and fuck it up even more.
It's funny you say that because, like, the differences between us men and women, it is a topic that we're going to discuss in our next episode.
100%.
But I don't want to say too much. But yeah, it is totally factual what you're saying. We're
Yeah.
a logical being and they're an emotional being.
100%.
And that's why we're balanced.
Exactly.
That's
and
what
like
makes
I say,
us balanced.
It's not a bad thing at all. At all, because it's two different perspectives.
Yeah.
Because it's good to have that emotional balance with somebody who has that emotional side.
Yeah.
And it's good to have that logical balance where you have that logical side of things.
Yeah.
Because then you can actually come together and be like, this is how I see it. And they be like, this is how I see it. And it's like, okay, cool.
Yep.
Now we can actually sit down and talk about it. This is why I take myself away so I can calm down and then come back when I'm ready and be like, this is how I feel. And they have that time as well where they're like, cool, this is how I feel. Easy as communicate. Doesn't have to be straight away. Nowadays, I think most people that are looking for relationships, I've seen it a lot, on these dating apps. It's like what I look for in a man, communication. And it's like, it's all well and good, but your type of communication that you're looking for is as soon as a problem arises, it's like communicate. And it's like you can't communicate as soon as a problem arises because there's emotions everywhere. You're angry, you're upset, I'm angry, I'm upset.
Yeah.
You can't communicate when you're in that mindset because you're going based off of raw emotions.
Yeah.
They fade after an hour or two.
Yeah.
Let yourself as individuals take an hour or two away, separate rooms, whatever it is. Don't even speak to each other. Don't look at each other and just reflect, process, and see if you can try and see it from their perspective and then talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what causes most arguments to escalate even more, is you're going based off of raw emotion.
Right.
And really and truly, you just need to sit there and just communicate after you've had that alone time.
Right.
So that you can actually calm down and reevaluate where you're at and what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that goes into a lot of other things as well. A lot of other things in terms of like relationships. Now, obviously, you've got the whole, adultery side of things like cheating and all this sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now, when that happens, that's done.
Yeah.
You should leave that as it is. Don't even try. It's done. That trust has been broken.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But if you find somebody that you genuinely see your life with and that you love and you feel that genuine connection with, fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
Fight for it, because nowadays, and I think it was J. Cole I saw said this on the podcast with Lil Yachty, and he says most older heads that you see, they haven't had it easy. They've been together 50 odd years, but they've been through the ringer. They've been through the maddest as a couple.
Yeah.
They might have split up and then found their way back to each other.
Yeah.
Because you're two different people learning about each other, right? But what the problem is today is people aren't willing to put the effort in to make it work.
Yeah.
As soon as you see, we're too different,
Mm-hmm.
that's it, done. You don't give it a chance to to work. And this is where the whole honeymoon phase comes into
Yeah.
the side of into the midst.
What a myth that thing
It's
is,
an
man.
absolute myth. That should not be a thing. Society has created this whole honeymoon phase of being like the first 3 to 6 months of your relationship is the absolute best. It's the Don Dada of all. You're happy, you're great, you're loving every second of it, but you're not taking that time to learn about that person.
Exactly.
You're not taking the
No.
time to learn what ticks them off and what buttons to push and what triggers them and all, which is what it should be.
Agreed.
And most of the
100%
time,
agreed.
you get 6 months into a relationship, you're like, I want to marry this person.
Yeah.
I want to marry this person. Cool. Another 6 months, you start arguing a bit. You're getting a bit like, ooh, there's things that they're doing I don't like.
Yeah, yeah.
Vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get married. And then it's into a year into the marriage, you're like, nah,
That person is not the same
that
person.
person is not the same person. But
Yeah.
you've rushed into it because you've not actually learned to know each other as individuals.
I think that's very important across the board. Like with your guy friends, learn them. I know it's easier for men to get closer with each other.
Yeah.
Not that kind of close, but you know, we understand the way that we function. I
Yeah.
think that's important. With my most recent experience with my missus now, bro, our first couple of months was mayhem.
Yeah.
And we were just drilling each other. Do you know why? Because we're trying to get to know each other.
Exactly.
But then again, it's not like she's not like these English girls, these girls that learn in a direct Western environment. She comes from a very traditional background. So she understands that if I'm getting to know you, I'm getting to know you.
Exactly.
We're not in some
It's all or nothing.
lovey-dovey, bloody.
It's not a romance.
Yeah, it's not a rom-com, bro.
It's all or nothing.
Yeah,
it's like I'm giving you all of me, you give me all of you.
Right, right. So I think we've gone over the topic of depression and anxiety massively here. And I think we spread it across loads of different
100%.
loads of different categories. And I think everybody can take a bit of something from all the topics we're talking about. But what will we do in a situation where there's someone by themselves? Like the way that I see it is, I went to the gym with Dylan once upon a time, and I'd only go with him.
Yeah.
And that wasn't good for me because I need to go by myself. And I need to do it by myself. So in scenarios where you're by yourself, or you need to find solutions by yourself.
Yeah.
What would be the best? What are things that people can do? Like as a conclusion, what is things that people can do to better themselves mentally, physically, perspective-wise?
Yeah.
Have gratitude for themselves. What is it that they can do? I know gym is one.
Gym is one. I think that's a big one. Mental health, physical health affects your mental health 100% because you're releasing endorphins. The buzz after a gym session is crazy. But also, like we said, taking time by yourself and just being sat there by yourself.
What should you do if you're sat there by yourself? What should you do?
Meditation's a good thing. Meditation's a great thing. Just block everything else out. Put your phone on do not disturb. Turn your phone off. Leave social media alone. Limit yourself 2 hours a day, if that, to social media. Obviously, if it's a part of your career, then fine.
Then that's understandable.
But don't let yourself get too engulfed into it with scrolling. I found myself doing it, scrolling reels for a couple of hours. And this was something I started doing myself. When you wake up, obviously you have your alarm set on your phone. Cool. When you wake up, don't touch your phone for the first. Build it up. Ideally, you want to get up to 30 minutes, but build it up for the first 5 minutes from when you wake up. Sit there and just sit there. Literally, sit there and just say to yourself, "Today is going to be a good day." Right? And
that manifestation and all that.
Manifestation, exactly. Law of attraction is real. It's real shit.
Yeah.
Build that time up over and over again until you get up to about 30 minutes, so you can sit there from when you wake up and not touch your phone for half an hour. It doesn't matter. Any missed calls, any text, you have time to get back to them. Right? You have time to contact them. There's no real urgency to that. What's urgent is working on yourself and making sure you're comfortable within yourself. We grew up in a time where there were no mobile phones. Right?
Thank God for that.
Thank God for that. I'm
honestly
well damn grateful for that. But at the same time, now we're in that position where it's like, because we have it, we abuse it. And everybody does that. And that's fine, but you need to have balance. I think get in the gym, right? Do that. Be by yourself, like you say, but also surround yourself with people that you want to be around and that are good for you. Don't just be a sheep. Don't follow what other people are doing. If you don't feel comfortable in a situation, leave.
Yeah.
or tell somebody you don't feel comfortable,
Mhm.
right? Because if they're really your friends, they would say, okay, cool, we can leave.
Yeah.
Journaling,
Yeah.
great. It's a great outlet, I feel. Personally, I can, you know, wholeheartedly say it does help.
Yeah.
More than people know.
I'm gonna give that a go. Actually,
Try it out.
I think that's a great idea. With
Try it out.
the meditation you said as well. Like for me, I used to meditate quite a lot, but
Mm.
now I find like meditation in my plants.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I love plants now.
Yeah.
I literally love putting seeds in soil and watching that motherfucker grow.
See,
You know
I
what
can't
I mean?
do that.
Bro,
It's like watching paint dry.
but no, seriously, it is one of those things that it teaches you patience and it teaches you how to nurture not just
Yeah,
yourself,
of
but
course.
you want to take care of something. So you've got to make the surroundings of it great. You got to put it in the right size pot.
Yeah.
When it grows to a certain point, you got to
You gotta have
expand
a
that.
solid foundation.
Exactly.
It's as easy as that.
Exactly. And
It's
it's
as
something which
easy
you
as
have to
that.
constantly nurture. So I think that's taught me how to constantly nurture myself. And I've grown consistent with that, which has taught me how I can be consistent with the gym.
Yeah.
Which is so strange. I'm putting damn seeds in the soil and putting that in the pot.
Yeah.
And that's taught me patience. It's taught me a lot of things about consistency. And it's taught me a lot of things about just keeping that confidence with it.
Of course.
I love my plants, man. I even talk to them and shit, but either way. But like, yeah, I think there's different forms of meditation. Like
Definitely.
reading is good as well. Man.
Reading's another great one. But
I wish
don't
I
just-
read more.
Yeah, but don't just read those like horror books or crime books or true crime. Read like genuinely read like self-help books. And not even just self-help, but just, you know, books that
Informative books. Yeah.
informative. That's the word I was looking for. There was one book that I read called Ikigai, and it changed my whole perspective on purpose,
Wow.
right? And
Papa-san.
exactly, yeah, literally. But it does follow the Japanese traditions of purpose and like finding your purpose within this world.
Yeah.
And it goes into discussion about there's a community of old people that are about majority of the people that live in this community are from the age of like 85 to about 100 and 110. So they're old, right?
Wow.
And they've lived lives.
110.
They've lived lives, right? And they live at the foot of a mountain, and they all work together as a community to build a community, you know, gardening and, you know, like little shops and like little stalls and stuff like this. They go out, they walk, they do little game nights, they do all of this sort of stuff. And it's just about, and bearing in mind, like these people have led full lives, right?
Yeah.
And they talk about what gave them purpose, what they found made them happy, what they found gave them fulfillment. And when they retired, technically retired, they still kept doing what they were doing because they have the love for it.
That's brilliant.
Right? And I think it's something to take away. You don't have your purpose figured out from the age of 15, like school teaches you. Choosing your options at 14 shouldn't be a thing because you don't know.
Yeah.
The options I chose in school, I didn't even go to do. But it's one of them things where, you know, like you said, reading, meditation, gym, just things that make you feel good about yourself, and just take a break from social media.
Yeah.
Just take a break.
So that basically leads into our next episode where, you know, we're going to be discussing social media and its effects on mental health and the whole of society, basically. So yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, stay tuned for the next one. Yeah, it's gonna be another interesting topic to
It's
talk.
going to be very interesting. We're going to delve into the aspects of social media and the impacts. So yeah, be a good time.
Yeah. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Until then.
Peace.